What an excellent topic for my second video, ever.
All the people with the backwards attitude, pointing fingers, and that's a bad excuse for sitting on your ass when you complain. Stupid things that you don't want to change. You ain't got no time for me, and I ain't got no sympathy for you.
Depression. Great opener, right? You're totally sold. Clinical depression. It's getting better, isn't it? Severe clinical depression. See, now, that's how you light up a room. Right there. Total buy-in. You're hooked, right? If you're still with me, it's because you give a damn, or what I'm talking about matters to you, affects you, or has impacted someone in your life. If you haven't been giving a depression diagnosis, then it can be hard to understand what it really means, and just what those of us who have been diagnosed are dealing with on a daily basis. There's a stark difference between feeling depressed, a little down, having a bad day, and having depression. And that difference makes it hard to explain to people not diagnosed exactly what it's like. A bit of a disclaimer seems necessary here. Every depression sufferer is a little different, and what holds true for me may not be as accurate for someone else. It's unique to the individual's life experiences and personal imagery. That said, what I choose to share may help you better understand what someone you care about is dealing with, or identify signs and symptoms in time to do something about it. What depression isn't is temporary. To some extent, it's the result of chemical imbalances in the brain that inhibit the production or reception of serotonin, thus making it difficult to feel satisfied, positive, or happy. Because much of the human brain is still uncharted territory, and science still hasn't fully explained what role each hormone plays, it's hard for pharmaceutical medicine to nail it down and develop a reliable, effective treatment. Of course, that hasn't stopped them from deploying unreliable, ineffective treatments, but that's a rant for another day. Depression also isn't something that can be fixed. Think about it. If modern pharmaceutical companies are still trying to hammer out a reliable way to address the basic chemistry involved, thinking that you're going to fix someone who has depression is arrogant and foolish. Where still, you're more likely to get frustrated by your failure, which will drive you away, thus deepening the depression you were trying to fix. Depression also isn't a choice. It's not a switch we can flip, a pill we can pop. I was diagnosed for the first time at 13. I promise, if there were an easy way to deal with it, don't you think I would have put it to use in the last 20 plus years? There's signs you can watch for, triggers you can learn to avoid, behaviors you can relearn, but even with a strong set of coping skills, there will still be those moments. And we'll get to them shortly though, so bear with. I have persistent depressive disorder, also known as dysthymia. After my original diagnosis, I later went on to do a stint in the military, and as a result of my depression, I went AWOL. At 19, when I was on my way back to San Diego to face the music, I was diagnosed with, quote, one of the most significant manifestations of depression, as the doctor put it, ever to enter his practice. I'll take that with a grain of salt. He was a physician, not a mental health provider. I feel this is maybe a good time to clarify my intention here. I'm not looking for your sympathy. I don't need you to feel sorry for me. What I want is for you to listen, process, and then act on what I'm trying to communicate to you. How you choose to act is entirely up to you, but it's important that you do. By choosing to take action, you may well end up saving a life, and that life could very well end up being your own. What is depression then? Depression is like heroin. It's a psychological and physical addiction to a pattern of behaviors that the individual knows from experience is destructive. I know full well that if I allow myself to follow the trail of breadcrumbs that my psyche lays out for me, that I'll end up in a ball on my floor blowing snot bubbles and hyperventilating. I have to be constantly vigilant inside my own head for potential pitfalls. Depression is feeling undervalued, underappreciated, unheard, unwelcome, unloved, and unknown by those you care deeply for. Depression is being paralyzed with fear of an imaginary reaction to an unspoken admission. I can't count the number of times in my teens and 20s that I wanted to tell someone, anyone, how I felt. The words caught in my throat, I got a confused look on my face, and it took another year before I could get up the courage to try again. Depression means having to constantly fight against a crushing sadness that cripples you mentally, socially, and emotionally, just to make it through the day. So what can you do? Well, there are a lot of things you can do, but the simplest thing you can do is pay attention. If someone you care about seems listless, distracted, numb, detached, talk to them. It doesn't really matter what you talk about, so long as you listen and engage with them. It takes some doing. You're not going to break through that shell all at once. Depression sufferers learn very early on to build up thick walls to protect themselves against what they perceive to be inevitable betrayals or disappointments. Be present. Be inclusive. Be attentive to their behaviors. Watch for signs that they're withdrawing. These signs can be gradual at first, but once the course is set, it can lead to a sudden shift in attitude and demeanor. So that's a start on what you can do, but by no means is an exhaustive list. More important, though, are the things you should avoid doing, as they can often cost you the trust of the person you're trying to help. Worse, some of these things can actually make everything instantly worse. Don't step up halfway. You're either in it to help us beat it, or you're just another disappointment waiting to happen. Don't commit part way when we need all the support we can get. Don't retell anecdotes about your aunt, your cousin, your friend's neighbor, and their mental illness. Not at first, anyway. For most depression sufferers, admitting that we have a problem, that we suffer from a mental illness, is far too big a step to take, and only makes us feel worse, more broken than we already do. Depression is also very deeply personal, so while the story of someone else might help you to relate, it only serves to alienate the person you're trying to help, who feels like their problems are either far, far worse by comparison, or that those problems are being poo-pooed and minimized. Don't invite us to social gatherings or outings unless you're planning on keeping us engaged with the group. The instant you draw away to go talk with a group we don't feel we belong in, we'll start drawing back into our shell. You'll lose us for the rest of the evening. Dealing with people requires us to expend a lot of emotional energy. We don't have that much to spare to start with, so it's even harder being around a lot of people we don't know. If we make noise about leaving the party or gathering, go with us. Chances are, if we care about you and you care about us, we need you to choose us over the party. Don't get us drunk in an effort to help us open up. Alcohol is a depressant, and packing a depressant into a depression disorder is like pouring nitroglycerin on a bonfire. If you're very, very lucky, we'll only become self-destructive. Don't take offense if we turn down an invitation, cancel plans, or otherwise flake out. If you assume we're being intentionally hurtful or disrespectful, you'll be fueling our downward spiral. We already feel bad enough for not being able to keep those plans or accept that invitation. Don't add to it by reacting the way we already expect you to. Instead, ask questions. Be persistent. Get honest answers. Find out just what happened that might have triggered our slide. Now that's a solid starting point, but you're going to need to do some research on your own. I'll go ahead and place several links in the description to get you going. Open up your eyes to the people who matter in your life. Be ready to step up. For anyone still dealing with depression, always keep fighting. There are people in your life who want you to stay in theirs, to whom you matter a great deal. Even if the spiral of dark memories, negative self-talk, sadness, pain, and dismal thoughts stops you from seeing them, they're there. As hard as it seems right now, you have to reach out. You have to put your hand up. When help is offered, take it. When someone says they care, believe them. Don't assume that they're just humoring you. Don't push them away. Most of all, don't wait until it's too late to open up. Some of us have fought our way back on our own, but they're the exception, not the rule. People need other people, and shutting them out is simply another step in your self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, if you know someone who fits the description, or whom you know to be diagnosed with depression, help them fight. Text them back, answer their calls. If we're still talking to you, it's because we haven't made up our minds about you. We haven't already decided that you're a risk we can't take. On behalf of those still fighting, if you're a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, mother, sister, brother, father, we're sorry. We know we're high maintenance. We know we're hard to live with when things get bleak in our heads. We appreciate you, sometimes more than we can say. It's hard to give a voice to these emotions because it means admitting that we're somehow failing to be the person you deserve, because saying out loud is scary. Yes, even after however long we've been with you. If someone you know, someone you care about, a friend or a family member is suffering with or showing signs of depression, take a moment to like and share this, tag that person in the comments, and be there when they're ready to talk. Knowing you've got someone fighting alongside you who knows what you're dealing with makes that fight a little less scary. Go ahead and use the comments below to share your experiences, tag friends, tell me what you thought. You can find me on Twitter, mines.com, or just use the email address in the description.